Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for joining me once again for this diary entry, and I guess in a way, a class, because we are going to be going back for a little bit of extra work. This time, we're looking at the secrets of Strixhaven, not just what's in the school, we are seeking what's beyond the school. Now, there's plenty of interesting and cool things that we can find in this. Of course, we've got the elder dragons that are the founders of the school. We have a couple of professor planeswalkers that have come around, and we've got some students that we saw in our Lorwyn eclipse journey. But let's take a look to see what's within and without the academy. So, hoping that we can get some cool stuff, because I believe that the mechanics of having prepared spells is actually a pretty nifty one, and I really hope that they continue doing it for the future, because we do see it in Reality Fracture. I hope it continues on because it seems like a really cool mechanic. Starting off, we're getting a little bit of Oracle's Restoration. 1 green, sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until in a turn you draw a card and you gain 1 life. Honestly, a nice little cantrip that you've got there. Something gets a little bit bigger. You draw the card that replaces this. You get a life there. You know, it's nothing super amazing, out of the ordinary, but as a cantrip that is, 1 mana and draws the card, pretty decent. Cheerful Osteomancer. Now, we did see some Osteomancers within Bloomborough, but I guess this is a cheerful one. 3 and a black for a 4/2 Orc Warlock that enters prepared, and for us there, so that we know, while it's prepared, you can cast a copy of the spell. Doing so unprepares it. In this case, it's going to be Raise Dead. So you play this for 4, and then for 1 black mana at sorcery speed, you can cast the classic spell Raise Dead, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So we're just going to see a lot of old Magic cards, or previously released Magic cards that are going to be within this prepared slot. But yep, being able to bring it in and do that. So a lot of these seem really good with unsummonable effects, with flicker effects that when they enter prepared, you use the spell, flicker them out, you get the spell back again. So that's what a lot of these are going to be ended up using for, at least for me. Seize the Spoils, 2 and a red, sorcery, additional cost to cast this, discard a card, draw 2, create a treasure token. So very similar to Big Score, though Big Score does give you 2 treasures, so not quite as good for it there. This is a sorcery speed as well. So I'm gonna be okay. If I want to get an extra version of this, sure, I'll put it in, but I'll be prioritizing things like Big Score better, which do give you 2 cards and 2 treasures. Glorious Decay. 1 and a green instant, choose 1, destroy target artifact, deal 4 damage to target creature with flying, or exile target card from your graveyard, draw a card. So nice little modal effect there. We have, I believe it's Nature's Claim is kind of what we have to go off here, of 1 and a green instant to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Now this doesn't have the enchantment portion, but we've got a lot of extra effects onto this. So we have a little bit more of a modal choice in it. I do like that, well, in some ways power creep is good, in other ways bad. Good, you get more powerful cards. Bad, makes the other cards kind of not as great there. But, get the modals, that's nice. Quillblade Laureate, 1 and a white, 1/1 human cleric, double strike, enters prepared, and its prepared spell is 1 and a white, 2-fold intent, sorcery, target creature gets +1/+0, gains double strike until in a turn. Give a little bit of someone a little bit of extra oomph to their power. Old Growth Educator, 2, a black and a green for a 4/4 Treefolk Druid with Vigilance and Reach. Infusion, when this ETBs, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it if you gain life this turn. So it's a bit different from, I'm trying to remember what it's called, like Bloodthirst or something like that, where if an opponent has dealt damage, it enters with +1/+1s on it, but this one here, gets +1/+1s on it instead if you've gained life. Black and green, you know, do a lot of draining, gaining, dealing life, so kind of makes sense there. Professor Longbranch, I'm gonna guess it's probably them because, hey, you know, seems like it there. So, I mean, depending on how you go in a more limited fashion, I don't see this doing much in terms of commander play, standard, you know, other competitive formats. But in like a limited sense, a 4/4 reach to block any flyers, great. Vigilance, well, you can attack and block every turn. And if you've gained life, it becomes a 6/6 for 4 mana with those keywords. This is a bomb in limited. Arcane Omens, 4 and a black for a sorcery, converge. Target player discards X cards, where X is the number of color of mana spent to cast a spell. So, of course, you know, the more that you spend on it to be able to use it for the different colors. So, you know, 5 mana in total. If you use all 5 mana colors, target player discards 5 cards. Otherwise, you know, you're discarding lower amounts there. All in all, you know, unless you're using like 4 or 5 different mana colors, it's not going to be all that great. So, you know, kind of skip on that one. Zombify is going to be our mythical archive card. 3 and a black, sorcery, return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. So that's how it differs from the Raise Dead. Raise Dead is to hand. Zombify is, you know, 3 extra to bring it back onto the field. From Professor Vess. Oh, we know Professor Vess. And, okay, so I'm going to imagine that this is our Japanese one. I don't know. We'll have to see when we go through if we get both a Japanese and a non-Japanese one. This one appears to be Giant Growth because it's just 1 green. Let's see here. Kyodaika. I think that's what I'm seeing there. Instanto. Yeah, and it's, you can see the +3/+3 there. So fairly certain that this is a Giant Growth for us. So classic Giant Growth, 1 green, give 1 target creature +3/+3 until end of turn there. You know, we'll always take more versions of that. Plains, now this is a very beautiful one. So it looks like we'll probably have the 5 students that we had within the not Eldraine, Lorwyn story, all painting the different symbols, like kind of like the main color of their house. So we have, this is going to be Silver Quill, doing the white mana. And yeah, I think it's very beautiful. So first rare is going to be a Birdo Wise Extrapolator. Looks like someone that might have come over from Bloomborough. 2, a green and a blue for a 1/4 legendary frog druid with increment. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana you spent is greater than this creature's power or toughness, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So only 1 power on this, so it's going to be pretty easy to boost it up a couple of times. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Birda, you add 1 mana of any color, so it also, in a sense, reduces mana costs by 1. And you can pay X and tap to create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it. So unfortunately, because that ability is not casting its spell, even if that creature comes in and if you spent more mana than the amount of power that she has, it doesn't boost her up. But, you know, a nice little Hydroid type of effect there. So, you know, something to think of for that X deck because there are some synergies with those. From our commander decks there, which we will be going over in the next episode here, we've got Nev, the Practical Dean. We did have double-sided Deans previously. Or, no, this is, yeah, we used to have double-sided Deans, but it looks like, based off of what I see here of Adrix, I think that there was like the 2 that doubled up some sort of triggers there. So I'm going to guess that's Adrix and Nev that we got there. So I guess we're getting them split up here. 2 and a green for a 2/2 legendary Merfolk Wizard. Creatures you control with counters on them have trample. That's pretty good. there. I've got a few decks that can work with that, so getting more copies is nice. Whenever you cast your first spell with X in its mana cost each turn, you put X +1/+1 counters on Nev, so you're making Nev really, really big that way if you've got a lot of X spells there. So, you know, an X spell deck. And you're just putting a whole bunch of extra on them. And, ooh, look at that. We're getting one of our Emeritus. So there is going to be a cycle of Emeritus cards which have some very powerful prepared spells on them, such as, I believe the blue one, highly sought after, has the Ancestral Recall on it. So we're already starting off with a mythic here. Emeritus of Truth, 1 and double white for a 3/3 cat cleric with, whenever this creature enters, target player creates a 1/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than you, this creature becomes prepared. So you want to, if you are behind by more than 2 creatures, then you can put the inkling on your side of the field. If your opponent has 1 more creature than you, like the next lowest one, you can put this onto the field and give them the inkling token and it becomes prepared. But if you have the same amount or if opponent has less, you're kind of out of luck there. You're going to want to wait for this one here because it does come with Swords to Plowshares as its prepared spell. 1 white for an instant to exile target creature, and its controller gains life equal to its power. It's an incredibly powerful prepared spell there. Just a little removal on a stick for 1 mana that's on instant. It seems very, very good there. I will absolutely take this. I'm sure that there's plenty of decks I can put this in. Great to get it. And our final rare is going to be... Okay, so... I just saw that we had an Emeritus. So this wasn't the last rare, and we did see what the next one is. Our Mythical Archive is going to be Jessica's Will, which is an amazing card too. So 2 in red for a sorcery. You choose 1, and if you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both instead. You add red for each card in target opponent's hand. So choose opponent that has 5 to 7 cards in their hand or more, and you get a lot of extra mana, and then you exile the top 3 cards of your library, and you may play them this turn, so you impulse draw 3. Oh boy, that's also very good. And we did see that we got an Emeritus of Woe, which I believe is the Emeritus that actually is trumping out the blue one currently. And we've got some people playing a band. Zephi and the Tempest. Okay. Sorry, commons and uncommons. We're moving you off of the field here because we're starting off with 3 mythics. 2 of them Emeritus, and then 1 of them is Jessica's Will. This is an insane first pack. 3 in a black, 5/4 Vampire Warlock, enters prepared, and at the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more creatures died this turn, it becomes prepared again. Oh my god, that's so good. Because it's got Demonic Tutor, 1 in a black for a sorcery, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So it enters prepared, so you get to go and search your deck for whatever you want that's going to help you out. Beginning of your end step, play a little bit of aristocrat-y type of deck there. Have 2 or more creatures die. It could be you destroying your opponent's creatures. It could be you sacrificing your own on your turn, and you get another Demonic Tutor. Oh my goodness. I find it very difficult to imagine getting a pack, like another pack in here, that's going to be anywhere near as good as this. I don't exactly know what the different Mythical Archive cards are going to be, but this is a bomb. Both of these are bombs. And even if these aren't really all that much, or, you know, anything at all, ooh, this one hit hard beginning up. Ooh, yeah. You know, people were right to be looking forward to Strixhaven coming back. So, I am sorry that all of the following ones are not going to be nearly as good as that one, but, you know, let's see how close we can get. Mage Tower Referee, 2 for a 2/1 artifact creature construct. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, you put a +1/+1 on this, so, you know, pretty simple of what it does. Pursue the Past, red and a white, sorcery, gain 2. You may discard a card if you do, draw 2, and then flashback to a red and a white. Honestly, not that bad within a, you know, red-white shell there. It's sorcery, so, you know, kind of wish that it was instant, but being able to cast it twice there, you know, you use this, and then if you discard another card, you get to draw 2, so it sort of balances all out there. If you don't discard the card, you're just gaining 2 life. It's really not worth it there, so you want to use that extra 1 there. And I believe because it does not say as an additional cost to cast this, you may discard a card, they have to, if they were to like counter this, they have to do it prior to you choosing whether you discard a card. So I think that that's how it would end up resolving there. Shattered Acolyte, 1 and a white, 2/2, Dwarf Warlock with lifelink. Pay 1 and sack this to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Kind of your classic one there of, I'm trying to think of one there off the top of my head, like Crusader Commando, or I can't remember what it's called there, but a lot of these have that, you know, sack. These white creatures have this sack to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Decent effect on that there. Sneering Shade Rider, 4 and a black for a 3/3 Vampire Warlock. Flying, ETBs, each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. You know, nice, simple drain effect there that you kind of want to see on that, the tree teacher that we saw that would enter and be bigger. Snooping Page, 1 a white and a black for a 2/3 Human Cleric. Repartee, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, this creature can't be blocked this turn. Okay, so a little bit of that. So it's, we'll have to see how that interacts with other things, if it's just going to be that, like, can't be blocked, or if you do that, or if it's just whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets a creature, it'll get that ability. But whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, lose 1 life. They've been getting a lot of these Phyrexian Arena type effects in there, so, you know, probably a little bit good and limited. I don't really see it doing much in like standard or anything like that. Pigment Wrangler, very, very colorful in Prismari there. 4 and a red for an orc, 4/4 Orc Sorcerer with flying, enters prepared and has striking palette. 1 red for a sorcery. Whenever you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new copies for it. Honestly, I dig it there. You know, it would have been nice if it was a little bit better in terms of stats or, you know, cost-wise. But, you know, that striking palette is really nice, of just being able to double up on the next instant or sorcery. I love doing that. So it kind of like draws my eye instantly. Thornfist Striker, 2 and a green for a 3/3 elf druid with ward 1. Counter target spell or ability and opponent controls unless if they pay 1. Infusion, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample as long as you gain life this turn. So I guess that's the mechanic there. Infusion is just as long as you've gained life this turn. So I'm going to imagine the other one is as long as an instant or sorcery targets a creature, you get an effect there. Knockout Maneuver. Put 2 and a green for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Nice little removal there on green. Makes something a little bit more powerful. And it's a bit better than just a pure fight effect, unless you have something with Enrage where you want damage to be dealt to your creature. And a foil Zombify. Okay, I think we got the the Japanese giant growth in this slot, so maybe it's a chance for Japanese, maybe it's a chance for foil, who knows. But yeah, we'll certainly take more copies. And here we go on to green, which is going to be Quandrix, and I don't recognize that person. So we're going to continue on into our rares. First one, Passive Professor. 1 and double blue for an 0/2 human wizard with increment. So that must be the Prismari one, I think. Unless that's the Quandrix symbol. That's Quandrix. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana you spent is greater than the power of the creature's power or toughness, put a +1/+1 on it, and whenever one or more +1/+1s are put on this creature, you draw a card. Okay, yeah, put it out there, and you'll play other creatures, and you draw more cards there. Not the worst thing, but, it's a bit slow, so pensive kind of makes sense of just being thoughtful. Up next, we're going to get one of our lands here, so we'll certainly take more of the lands. Turbulent Fen, Swamp Forest, enters tapped unless you control 8 or more lands. They just have these very spiral-like designs, which, as a Junji Ito fan, sends shivers down my spine there of all of the spirals and what they could mean. But we will take more of the lands. And looks like we're going to be doubling up already, this time with a extended art version of Berta, having that increment version. So yes, we can confirm that that symbol is Quandrix, and that increment is going to be their particular one. So potential of using more, and we're also going to get Return to the Ranks as our Mystical Archive card. X and double white for sorcery with Convoke, so can tap down as many creatures as you want to help pay for one colorless, or 1 mana of the creature's color, and you can return X creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, if you've got a lot of small creatures, it's a good way of being able to get them out there. And our last one of the pack is going to be Joined Researchers. Now, these look like the two that were on Secret Rendezvous, which makes very much sense that their prepared spell is Secret Rendezvous. I think that is very flavorful of them having that Secret Rendezvous at these gateways and then coming back later on in their life to research together and being able to use it again. So, Joined Researchers, get a little bit of Fractal and Pest. 1 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric wizard with first strike, and at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent has more cards in hand than you, this creature becomes prepared, and then they can use Secret Rendezvous. 1 and double white for a sorcery. You and target opponent each draws 3 cards. So, beginning of each end step. So, potential of big group hug effect there of having opponents draw a whole lot of cards so that this can come in and continuously do its prepared is a nice little effect there for Commander, but not really going to be anything you want to do much in Standard or anything like that. You don't want to be giving your singular opponent a lot more cards. It's definitely a lot better when you've got multiple opponents. So, unfortunately, nowhere near our first one there, but we can rub for luck, and hopefully we can get some more. I hope that these aren't the only mythics that we get. Follow the Lumarets. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land from among them and put it into your hand. If you gain life this turn, you may instead reveal 2 cards and or lands from among them and put them into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, honestly, if you've got a way to gain life, looking at the top 4 and then being able to bring in 2 creatures and or lands. So, 2 creatures, 2 lands, or a creature and a land into your hand for 2 mana. Essentially it's basically a scry 4 and then draw 2 for 2 mana is pretty darn good. So I think that's a really nice spell to be able to get more into your hand in green. Render speechless. 2, a white and a black. Sorcery, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. They discard it. Put 2 +1/+1s on up to 1 target creature. Nowhere near as good as Thoughtseize. So, not really looking at this whatsoever. Even Inquisition of Kozilek is so much better. 4 mana to make them discard 1 card. You get 2 +1/+1. That's not enough there. For 4 mana, you're not getting enough value off of that. It's not going to be playable. Biblioplex Tomekeeper, 4 mana for a 3/4 artifact creature construct. When ETBs, you choose up to 1. Target creature becomes prepared, or target creature becomes unprepared. So, very nice. You can disrupt your opponent, or you can somehow put into your own so that you can prepare up your creatures multiple times there, especially if they've got some sort of big condition that you have to do in order for them to become prepared, to just say, yep, they're already prepared. That can be all right. Hungry Graphalon, 3 and a green for a 3/4 giraffe with reach and increment, and that's about it. So, very vanilla creature. Probably not going to be doing too much there. I mean, if you've got like a Gruely type deck where you can put a lot of other big creatures down, or Naya, Jund, anything like that, you can fit this in and try to be able to do something with it. Diary of Dreams, 2 mana for an artifact book. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you put a page counter on it. 5 and tap to draw a card. Costs 1 less to activate for each page counter on this artifact. So you cast a lot of instant or sorceries, and you're essentially tapping this to draw a card for free each turn, or every time that's untapped. You get it in something green with, I'm trying to remember what it is. Seedborn Muse. Just have something where all of your stuff is just untapped at the end of your turn. You could draw 4 cards in a whole turn cycle there. Honestly, not that bad. Much better than like Jayamid Tome. Winterbloom Charm. Okay, so we're getting some charms, kind of like we did with the, Guilds of Ravnica. Black and a green instant, choose 1. You may sack a permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards. That's not too bad, especially, trying to get rid of 2 creatures with that. Gain 5 life, a bit weak, or destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. So, I mean, that hits artifact, enchantment, technically Planeswalker. There's not a whole lot of 2 mana Planeswalkers out there. But yeah, honestly, that first one there is pretty darn good, and you can use it as a backup source of removal as well for something small. Decent one there, especially in standard there, where, you could hit Badger Mole Cubs and other, small threats that are very impactful to the game. Divergent Equation. Double X and a blue for an instant. Return up to X instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then you exile this. Okay, so a little bit of recursion on all of those. Just paying 2 for each one that you return back seems like quite a bit there. You want to bring back 3 cards from your graveyard to your hand, you got to pay 7. That's just a whole lot of mana. I'm not sure if I could use it. And we are getting, let's see here, 1 black for an instant. Something that gives -1/-1s. Let's see here, and cycling for 1 black. Ooh, I'd have to look this up. I don't know exactly what this is, but I imagine that it is, it's like Swarm of Locusts or something like that. It's probably, my Japanese is not good enough to be able to completely read this here or understand it. Let's see here. Inako no Hisan. My guess is that it's Swarm of Locusts, which I don't exactly know what that does off the top of my head, but I will take more artworks of things, so I will definitely take it. And it looks like we're getting 2 Japanese cards right off the bat here. 1 and a white for another instant. My guess is it's like Valorous Stance or something like that. 4 damage to a target tapped creature. What I'll try to do with the previous one as well as this one, I'll just have a copy of it next to it so that you can see what the general card is. But, I'm glad to be getting more artworks there. It just makes it a little difficult to read. And we're getting a mountain, so we're getting the Lorehold version of this. And yeah, getting all of the big scrolls that they carry around with them that have histories on it, generating up all that fire. That's a really nice picture as well. Hopefully we're going to be getting in here for some cool things. I'm glad that we're not doubling up on any mythical archive stuff yet. And ooh, so this is our 3rd Emeritus that we are getting. So we have gotten 3 out of the 5. If we could get the blue one, that would be great. Emeritus of Abundance, 2 and a green for a 3/4 elf druid with vigilance. Enters prepared, and whenever this attacks, if you control 8 or more lands, it becomes prepared again, and it has regrowth. So enters prepared, and you can regrowth either on the turn, later turn there. 1 and a green sorcery, return target land from your graveyard to your hand. So, the decks that we're seeing, Lord Windgrace or the Jund deck that we got in Edge to Eternities, a lot of those there that deal with discarding cards or milling cards, being able to bring back more lands is very, very nice. And then, you're going to be able to get 8 lands out kind of easily with this. So you have to attack in with this. It's got vigilance, so you can still keep it back for defending, but you have to attack in, and potential there of being able to keep a lot of cards going through your graveyard into your hand there. I'm digging it. So the only mythics that we have is a mythical archive and 3 Emeritus. What a box here. So our commander card is going to be a Fury Gale Flocking. Super expensive here. I'm going to imagine there's going to be a way to reduce the cost. 8 in double red for a sorcery. The spell costs 1 less for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. Use a lot of cards, you make it really cheap. For each opponent, you create 2 3/3 blue and red elemental creature tokens with flying that attack that opponent this turn. If able, they gain haste until end of turn. They do not disappear, so at maximum, all 3 of your opponents are still on the battlefield. You could potentially play this for 2 red to get 6 3/3s, which is 18 power. They get haste, and they have to attack that player on that turn only. So a couple get blocked, you still get to keep a lot of power there. They don't have vigilance, so unfortunately you can't block with them on the turn of, but you could use something like Convoke to tap them down, or do something to be able to make it so they don't have to attack if you don't want to. But yeah, we'll certainly take that one. And Suspend Aggression. So is this going to be a protection, or is this going to be a suspend card? 1 a red and a white for an instant. Exile target non-land permanent and the top card of your library. For each of those cards, its owner may play it until the end of their next turn. Okay, so you exile target non-land permanent, which is going to be something you don't own. So something that's really impactful on the board that potentially they cannot play for the remainder of the turn. Either it's too much mana, or they've tapped out or something. So you essentially you remove something that hopefully they can't play. But it's until the end of their next turn, so they've got 1 full go around to be able to do it. So being able to just stave something off for the turn is nice. And then you also get to impulse draw, essentially. So not too shabby. I'll certainly take it as a nifty little removal, semi-removal in Boros. And we're getting another mythical archive here. Japanese one, white and a black. It's not Vindicate. We'll put it right here, and hopefully it's gonna be a good one. I can't tell based off of the artwork what this is, but I will say it is very beautiful. We have that kind of traditional Japanese onmyoji in the background, kind of like an exorcist to destroy an enemy's, to destroy a spirit, a curse, a monster, a yokai. But yeah, I like the little mandala that we have up here. And our final card is going to be, okay, so we're going to get an alternate art for one of these archaics. And we're going to get, the new black and green Professor Dellian Fel, who is, I believe, a planeswalker. So Wild Growth Archaic. This is going to be double 2 green hybrid. So you can either use 2 generic mana or you can use a green mana. For a 0/0 avatar with Trample and Reach and Converge, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So you can have it come up as a maximum of 4 or a minimum of 1 if you use double green. Whenever you cast a creature spell, that creature enters with an additional X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast it. Okay, so essentially just a small thing that you can put out there as just a generic buff to make things a little bit bigger when they enter, just by, if they cost a generic and a colored mana, you use a different color for that generic mana, and you are going to be rewarded by having a slightly bigger creature. And even if you don't, if you use all of the same color, it still enters in with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So an interesting one there. I will certainly take that. It seems like a card that could potentially be very good in some of those big stompy decks there. Again, Rukthar, you got green and red, so having things come in with an additional 2 counters on them is pretty good when big stompy. You got something like Jund or Abzan or Naya. You got 3 colors there. Some of your bigger things coming in with up to 3 extra ones. That's also pretty impactful as well. I'll certainly take that, especially since it's one of our alternate arts, since when we do eventually start opening up some of the play boosters, well, it's a little bit harder to get these alternate arts. Not impossible, but a little bit more difficult. So coming in with our 4th pack here is going to be Bogwater Lumeret. So we did see our students following off some of the Lumerets, but this is going to be a black and green 2/2 Spirit Frog. Little spirit, that's nice. Whenever this or another creature you control ETBs, you gain a life. Okay, so this is a Soul Sister in black and green. Okay, certainly we'll take that. Page Loose Leaf, so a living page. 2 generic mana for an 0/2 legendary artifact creature construct. Common, by the way, so a common potential commander. Tap to add a colorless mana, and it has Grandeur. So this is one that we haven't seen yet. Discard another card named Page Loose Leaf. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an instant or sorcery. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So not a really great commander to play with there, but, potentially you're just saying, hey, it's a mana rock, and in, generic 60 card format, discard Page and being able to get an instant or sorcery up to your hand seems all right. Visionary's Dance, another really big Prismari card. 5, a blue and a red. For sorcery, create 2 3/3 blue and red elemental creature tokens with flying. 2 mana, discard this card, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So a little bit of cycling in on that, and we do have a frog there, so it does look like we've got a little bit of Bloomborough representation here. Now, you can definitely tell this is a common one because we've got Fury Gale Flocking at rare, which is just 3 mana more, but has an ability, but can potentially reduce the cost by a whole lot and give you much more than this does. Fields of Strife is going to be, looks like going to be our lands that we're going to have for all of this. We can see the little gateway in the background here, potentially. Enters tapped, taps for red or white, and it surveils 1 if you do 2 a red and a white and tap it. Okay, if you got nothing else to do, surveil. Startled Relic Sloth, 2 a red and a white for a 4/4 Sloth Beast with trample and lifelink. Just a beater there. Beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, and a little bit of graveyard hate as well. Okay. Yeah, a little bit startled. It stomps around, breaks up some of the history stuff. Yeah, can't bring the stuff back if it's gone forever. Brush Off, another very colorful one there with all of the painting there. 2 and double blue. Instant, costs 1 and a blue less to cast if it targets an instant or sorcery, counter target spell. Okay, nifty little one there. A bit more expensive for a generic card, but to counter instant or sorceries, it becomes a negate. So it gives a little bit more flexibility in the card there in and of itself. So potential of, if you want to put this in instead of negate, I would definitely say it's worthwhile because it's negate with potential upside of generic counterspell just for a little bit more. Another snooping page like we had last time there. Monstrous Rage, card that ended up getting banned there. So nice. It looks like we got a little bit of Animorph effect here. We've got human musculature going into kind of a hybrid and then into the actual werewolf there. And we've got the cycle here of human to hybrid to the wolf there. 1 red for an instant, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. You create a monstrous roll token attached to it. It's a roll. If you control another roll on it, put 1 into the graveyard, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and trample. Yes, very, very powerful effect there, especially in like mono red beatdown with what was that card called? Corey Steel Cutter, and then was also really good with Vivi there, and this ended up getting banned. Knockout Maneuver, so we're getting another copy of that there, this time just foil. We did not get a foil one last time, so we'll take that. And we're getting an island, so this is going to be our Prismari version of it there. Brushstroke going out to create the symbol. Now we just need the swamp to finish all of those ones off. First rare is going to be a Postmortem Professor. Okay, sorry Professor, you died and now you've got to come back and teach some kids. I'm sure you're thrilled. And because you're a zombie, we're also not paying you. 1 and a black for a 2/2 zombie warlock that can't block. Whenever this attacks, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Okay, a little bit of drain effect there. 1 and a black, exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and you return this to the battlefield, from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, bit of recursion effect there, and reminds me a lot of Reassembling Skeleton, except Reassembling Skeleton you could just bring back, but it didn't have this extra effect. So in order to make it a little bit more balanced, I can see, they want you to get rid of the instant or sorcery. Okay, we'll have that one there. And we're going to get another one of our Turbulent cards here. Turbulent Springs, Island Mountain, enters tapped unless your opponents control 8 or more lands. Again, in Commander, where you've got 3 opponents, it's a little bit easy once you start getting on into the game there for them all to control 8 lands total. So we'll certainly take more of these there because potentially untapped dual lands that you can use right away are good. Can also be searched up with the search lands there. And it looks like we're going to get another joined researchers, so are getting a little bit of duplicates at the moment there. I mean, if we want to duplicate up some of these emeritus, like, I'm not necessarily upset, but I'm hoping to get some new cards as well, just different cards. So we're also going to get, this one is a mythic I see. So I am, again, not terribly certain which one this is. Mukutsuki, 3 and double black. I am not certain what it is, but we are getting another mythic from our mythical archive, so I will certainly take that. I don't know how rare those generally are, but I'm hoping that this is a good one as well that I will be able to see once we finish it off. Got a little bit of Pest, got a little bit of Fractal there, and hoping that our final card of the pack is going to be really cool there, because we did, again, get another mythic there, and we've gotten 3 over here, so we've gotten 5 total. Come on, give us something cool. Fix what's broken. So it looks like we have a couple of different different schools there kind of coming together. 2, a white and a black sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you pay X life. Return each artifact and creature with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, that is a big recursion effect there, and I dig this one here as a means of getting a whole lot of stuff back. It's only 4 mana, so you're not looking at something like what's that one called? It's the one that Liliana is always on. It's like 8 or 10 mana that's in black, that's return target, like all creatures. But the thing is, this also returns all of your artifacts as well. In white and black, where you could potentially be getting a lot of life back, this mass revival effect, especially after like a board wipe, could be super impactful there. I dig that one. I would not mind getting more of Fix What's Broken, because I think that could be not a broken card, but a very powerful one. So very nice one to get. We will certainly accept that. Hopefully pack number 5 is going to continue on. We're going to get some cool stuff and some new stuff. Honor-bound page, 3 and a white, 3/3 cat cleric. First strike, enters prepared, has Forum's Favor, 1 white for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+0 and flying until end of turn. Okay. Cost of Brilliance, 2 and a black sorcery. Target player draws 2 and loses 2 life. Put a +1/+1 on up to 1 target creature. Okay, a little bit of that Phyrexian Arena effect again there. Grapple with Death, 1 a black and a green sorcery. Destroy target artifact or creature. You gain 1 life. Kind of reminds me a whole lot of some of the black and green ones that we got from different Ravnica sets there that would destroy those ones as well. So, interesting one to be able to get that. Terramorphic Expanse. I can't say if this is new artwork or not, but I would imagine it is, with Arcavios here and all of that kind of swirling effect there. I really dig it. It's a nice little version of it. Unfortunately won't really see much of it because don't really use Terramorphic Expanse much. Maybe if I use a lower powered deck there, I'll put some of those versions in and use my favorite ones. Rapturous Moment, 4 a blue and a red for a sorcery. Draw 3, then discard 2 cards, and then you add in double blue and triple red. So you, at the end of the day, have same amount of cards, and you essentially pay only 1 mana for this, and you get a whole lot back. So being able to cast something else, you get your flurry cost, you get your multiple casts there. You get to do a whole lot of your stuff there. So it's all right. Not my favorite. I do dig the return cost there. If you are somehow able to copy this one here, as we were able to see with the that 1 red prepare one, use 1 red and then be able to do this. You draw 3 cards, then discard 2, and you get 5 mana back. Then so you're down 1. And then if you want to count it, 2 for the copy effect. Then you draw another 3, discard 2 more. So you've kept, the best cards that you can in your hand. You are up by 1, and you are then up by 3 extra mana. So, can do what you want. These Prismari cards are pretty high cost, but if you're able to copy them or reduce their costs somehow, it can make it worthwhile. Earnest, Debate Moderator, another legendary creature here, 1 and a white, 1/1, human cleric. When Earnest enters, exile up to 1 other target creature you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. A little blink effect there, that's always nice. Beginning of your end step, if 1 or more cards were put into exile this turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on Earnest. Okay, so you want to exile a whole lot of things. So blinking a whole lot of cards is going to be very, very good for Earnest because, it encourages that there and then makes them bigger in and of itself. Now, it can only grow by 1 and only on your turn. So that's the only limiting factor of it. Colossus of the Blood Age. I don't like the sound of Blood Age. 4, a red and a white, 6/6 artifact creature construct. When it enters, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. You gain 3 life. Okay, a little bit of drain effect in red and white there, so a little bit of that lightning helix. When this dies, discard any number of cards and draw that many cards +1. Okay, being able to then pick some good cards, I don't mind that. Stargaze is our mythical archive card. X and double black. Sorcery, look at twice X cards from the top of your library. Put X cards from among them into your hand, and then the rest into your graveyard. You lose X life. Okay, you can get hurt by a whole lot with that. But, very, very nice. We get to see some of the wings there on the sides, and we get the Silver Quill's pen in the center there. And a little bit of a bat type of effect there. Or I guess this is more of a beak, and this is Abigail's face because I see Abigail down here. Okay. Ooh. So this is a spree card. And it is a textured foil. So we did end up getting a texture foil in here. I'm not entirely sure which this one is, but I'm hoping it's a decent one. So you'll be able to see it right here of what its equivalent is. But yeah, I'm not certain how common or valuable these textured ones are, but I am going to just keep it off to the side here just in case because, it is cool and it ended up getting it. And it should be our land. Yep, so unfortunately no swamp yet, but we'll still hope. We've got 6 more packs. First rare, Steal the Show, 2 and a red. Okay, so Prismari card that we can actually cast. Sorcery, choose one or both. Target player discards any number of cards, then draws that many cards. Okay, so replace cards in your hand, potentially, and Steal the Show deals damage equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard to target creature or player. Okay, a little bit of removal effect there as well. Especially, if you choose both, you can discard cards in your hand, fill up your graveyard with some instants and sorceries so that you can be able to remove that card there. Yeah, seems a decent one there. From our commander deck, we got Brass Infiniscope, 4 mana for an artifact that taps to add double colorless. And when you next cast a spell with X and its mana cost this turn, you draw a card and gain half X life rounded down. Okay, so it looks like maybe with this we are going to be getting a whole lot more X cost cards to be able to use this with, potentially gaining a whole lot of life there just because you're using X cost spells. That seems kind of nice. I'll certainly take that. And, ooh, there we go. We're getting some more of our mythics. We're getting one of our Elder Dragons, Quandrix the Proof. 4, a green and a blue for a 6/6 legendary Elder Dragon with flying and trample with Cascade. Very nice Cascade. When you cast this card, then you exile cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land with mana value less than this card, and you get to cast it for free And then instant and sorcery cards you cast from your hand have Cascade as well. So, you cast all of your instants and sorceries getting Cascade. Oh boy, that can be pretty good as well. We will definitely be taking some of these, especially since this is going to be our alternate art on it. So we are doing pretty good with getting our mythics here. And this is going to be our mythical archive card. And deflecting palm, foil deflecting palm here. Red and a white for an instant. Next time okay, so it can be foil or non-foil in that slot since we got just as well non-foil. Next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, it deals that much damage to that source's controller. So basically, if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh, this is Magic Cylinder. So, just your good old classic Magic Cylinder there. Very, very beautiful artwork there of what is probably basically Narset, just having, two spectral palms that are shooting outwards there. You've got arrows coming in like this and then shooting off back at where they came from. Okay, so that one's really nice as well. We'll sleeve this one up since it is a foil version of these, since, again, it's looking like we don't get many foils of those. And we've got our goat and fungus beast. Okay, it looks like they're from the commander decks. And for our final card in this pack, we are going to get, so hopefully something cool, Harmonized Trio. So it looks like we're getting a few bards in this since we had that banned previously. So I guess, this is Prismari's version of Expression there. 1 blue for a 1/1 Merfolk Bard Wizard with tap this and tap 2 untapped creatures you control to have this become prepared. And you get Brainstorm for that. So now you can prepare this at instant speed. It doesn't have to be sorcery speed. So you can have a bunch of stuff that are just, up. You're using defenders essentially. And then you can, right before it's your turn, if you want to tap this, tap them down. And if you've got the 1 blue remaining, you can use the Brainstorm right then and there. You could use that at another time. But yeah, I see it being a decent enough card. Not the most impactful, especially since, you got to have essentially 3 creatures in order to use the Brainstorm. But having it as a 1/1 that you can get out on the first turn, and then the Brainstorm is also just the one. Not too shabby. But let's go on. This is going to be our halfway point here. Hopefully we can continuing to get some interesting stuff. Maybe getting some more of these. Efflorescence. 2 and a green for an instant. Put 2 +1/+1s on target creature, and if you've gained life this turn, they also gain trample and indestructible until end of turn. So you can save 1 guy there, but for 3, it's a little bit too much there, and to only save 1 guy. Swift Scholar, 2 and a red for a 3/2 Orc Sorcerer with Ward, pay 2 life. Enters prepared, and it has Awaken the Ages, 5 and a red sorcery. Create 2/2 red and white spirit creature tokens. Brings to life some of these ancient horses. Pull from the grave 2 and a black sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then you gain 2 life. Okay, a little bit of recursion there. Muse's Encouragement. Very, very interesting, like peacock type of deal here. 4 and a blue for an instant. Create a 3/3 blue and red elemental creature token with flying, and then you get to surveil 2. Yeah, it's a little bit too expensive. Sky Coach Waypoint, land, taps for colorless, 3 and tap, target creature becomes prepared. Now that can be decent in these if you don't like. I think that this is better than the Walker, the Biblioplex librarian thing that when at ETBs you can unprepare something. Being able to pay, it's essentially 4 mana each time because you have to pay 3 and tap this to make a creature prepared. But, you got something like this Harmonized Trio. If you don't have the creatures for it, you could just still be able to use the Brainstorm, or if instead of needing to have the creatures die, you could do this. Or if you don't want to attack, you could still use this. Or, you know, if opponents have barely any creatures, you could still use the other one there. So you've got opportunities for this one here in this prepared environment, and if they continue to make prepared spells, it's just going to get better. Vibrant Outburst, 2 and a red, instant, deals 3 damage to any target, then you tap up to 1 target creature. Okay, so, you know, you get into some combat there, deal 3 damage to some other creature, you know, get rid of something on your opponent's field, and you tap down one of their things to make them a little bit more open. You know, it definitely provides that open opportunity for you. Tester of the Tangential, 1 and a blue, 1/1 Djinn Wizard with Increment, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay X. When you do, you can move X 1/1 counters from this creature onto another target creature, so you can keep on getting this creature bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so we have something here. Red card, 1 and a red for it. It looks like it's got flashback on it. I'm trying to think of what that could be, but I just honestly am not too certain. So, you know, here's what the card is. Hopefully it's good. I mean, it's a new one in this, and I will certainly take that. Oh, and looks like we get another one here as well. Green card. Ol is king. No. Mutanashi, or not Mu, Multanashi. Something kings. But again, hopefully it's good. Here's what it is. And there's our swamp. So we are going to actually get our swamp in here as well. Very ominous. Big skull. I like it. We've got all of these all set, unless there's some special version. First rare is going to be, we got that art card there, Zephi and the Tempests, 5, a blue and a red for a 5/7 legendary human bard sorcerer. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. So it's big and it's expensive to get out there, but then if you're able to keep it out, then you can cast free stuff. That includes the turn that you get this out because you haven't used it. So you get it out for expensive mana, and then potentially being able to cast another big thing to either help it out or, you know, secure some sort of advantageous positioning. So yeah, you know, I could see it being used. I see it being a little bit difficult with mana curves to consistently have a big spells in there, but being able to have free stuff is always nice. So we'll take it. It's new, you know, it's interesting. We'll find a use for it. From our commander decks, we've got Noctamoon Lore Spinner. So it looks like they're also bringing in some guys from Amonkhet as well. 2 and a red, 3/3, Jackal Wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, if a player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, this creature becomes prepared. So if any player has 1 or 0 cards in their hand, you get this prepared, and you get to cast Wheel of Fortune. 2 and a red, sorcery. Each player discards their hand and then draws 7 cards. Honestly, not that bad, especially if you are continuously getting rid of cards in your hand, or if you've got something like the Narset that prevents them from drawing additional cards, then, you know, they're going to have 1 or 0 cards in their hand. So then this just becomes prepared, and you use the effect again, and you get to refresh your hand, and then, you know, they don't. So honestly, I think that this is a very interesting one, and I'm glad to get more of it because I think that there's a few different cases where I could use this. Next one is going to be a Mana Sculpt. 1 and double blue for an instant. Counter target spell. If you control a wizard, add an amount of colorless mana equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell at the beginning of your next main phase. So This is going to be another version of Mana Drain, except it's just one additional mana to use, well, one additional blue mana. So honestly, not that bad. I mean, you got to control a wizard, that's the only thing about it, but even with those restrictions, I could see this being played in a few decks. There's plenty of wizards that you can play this around. So I will definitely take this one. And our mythical archive card is going to be, we're going to have a foil version of Fracture. 1 in a black, instant, destroy target, artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. So it's looking like this is one of the Silver Quill Deans. Yeah, just a little removal effect there. Hits a lot of different things. I think white and black are a little bit difficult on hitting enchantments, so, this doesn't get rid of a creature, but it gets rid of kind of the other pesky things around, so I will certainly take that one as well. Again, it's something new, and a foil one is always helpful. I'm going to get a fractal and the elementals. This one's a squid, and not a bird, but a squid. Okay. Final card of the pack is going to be oh my. Okay, so we are going to be getting a special guest card, and it's going to be Sylvan Library. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Sylvan Library is an amazing card, and getting another version of it is spectacular. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 1 in a green enchantment at the beginning of your draw step. You may draw 2 additional cards. If you do, choose 2 cards in your hand drawn this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put the card on top of your library. So you get to... You draw additional cards, and you're essentially just brainstorming each turn there. Draw 3, but you have to put some cards back, or you can pay life to take them. But there is, a combination that you can have of Underworld Lich there, where it's instead you look at the top few cards instead, and you put 1 in your hand and the rest go into your graveyard. Same with, I think it's like Azami, Lady of Scrolls, or there's some blue card. It's not Azami, it's another blue card that I'll, put up here somewhere that talks about it, where it's a similar effect of, if you would draw a card, I think it's a legendary creature from Kamigawa, though. You draw, whenever you would draw a card, instead you look at the top, some amount of cards in your deck there, you choose 1 of them, put it in your hand, and the rest go on the bottom. And the thing is, because you don't technically draw the cards, you look at the top cards of your deck and you put 1 of them into your hand. You're not drawing them, so you don't have to pay the 4 extra life, and then you get to keep all the extra cards. Sylvan Library, absolutely amazing card, and I really, really dig the art here as well. It looks like a bunch of Winterbloom students here talking about, something going on with the gateways or the school or whatnot. Oh yeah, I will absolutely take that. Right next here to the Emeritus of Woe, we are getting some good cards in this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's halfway through. All right, so first pack of the second half here. I mean, if the second half can hit as hard as the first half, I would be ecstatic, because that first half was, the first and the last pack in that first half there. Yikes. Masterful Flourish. 1 black, instant, target creature you control gets +1/+0, gains indestructible until end of turn. Okay, nifty little combat trick there. I'm just thinking of, the goblin deck that we're going to get, unfortunately, is just going to be mono red. But if it was black, being able to play this on Zada, give all of your goblins +1/+0 and indestructible, that would be nice. Banishing Betrayal, 1 in a blue, instant, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, surveil 1. Yep. I mean, again, you can use this on your own stuff to save it and, enter the battlefield triggers again there. Potioner's Trove, 3 mana for an artifact. It's a mana rock, add 1 mana of any color. Tap to gain 2 life, activate only if you've cast an instant or sorcery this spell this turn. Mostly it's going to be a mana rock there. Johnny's Resolve. Okay, so Johnny looks like it's coming in here. 4 and a white instant. Spell costs 3 less to cast. If it targets a tapped creature, destroy target creature. So, I'm trying to see if he's just like decimate. What is he decimating? It looks like it might be a fractally type of thing. Not too certain, but 3 less to cast would be 1 and a white. Targeting a tapped creature and destroying it. It's not the worst thing, but you need to have it tapped first. Infirmary Healer. Cat Cleric. Sure that they'll get along with the Johnny. 1 and a green, 2/3 Cat Cleric. Enters prepared. Stream of Life, X and a green. Target player gains X life. Potentially gain a whole lot. Okay. Spirit Call Enthusiast. More Cat Clerics. 2 and a white, 3/3 Cat Cleric. Whenever 1 or more tokens you control ETB, it becomes prepared. Scroll Boost, 1 and a white, sorcery. 1 or 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 until end of turn there. I wish it was a little bit better there because, tokens are kind of easy to get out, so you could potentially be going over and over and over with that. Silver Quill Charm, okay, so another one of our charms, white and a black. Ooh, they've got really nice nails. Because, so they're, if you can see, they're black, but they are gray, but they've got the silver quill aspect of near the bottom is a black circle, and then it has the single straight line up to make them look like a quill. Choose 1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It's kind of meh. Exile target creature with power 2 or less. A little bit of removal is fine. Each opponent loses 3 and you gain 3. Okay, I like a little bit more of the... God, I wanted to call it Winter Bloom. It's Wither Bloom. I like the Wither Bloom one a little bit better, but, this has some decent options as well. If you can get them with power 2 or less, that's good. Repel Calamity, so we are getting a little bit of Mythical Archive, but with our Bloom Burrow here. 1 and a white, instant, destroy target creature with power or toughness 4 or greater. So again, getting rid of something really, really big can be fine. And Shared Roots, getting a lesson. 1 and a red. Sorcery, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Very, very nice artwork there. Looks like... I'm not sure if it has anything to do with Ren there. Awed by the strength of their love, the Dawn Prince bound them together for eternity. Around them, a great forest grew. Maybe. I'm not too certain. And we're getting another one of our forests there. Nice, nice. First rare. Mind into Matter. X, green, and blue. Again, Quandrix having a lot of these X cards. Draw X cards, sorcery, then you may put a permanent with mana value X or less from your hand on the battlefield tapped. Okay, that's not too bad, Pay 7 into this, you draw 5 cards, and then you can put a 5 mana spell out onto the battlefield. Find ways to reduce the cost of this, and, you can draw more, put bigger things out there. Not too shabby, I'll take that. And it looks like we're having one of our potential commanders from the Quandrix school out there. Primo, the Unbounded. This was something that Zimone had, who I believe is going to be our commander, but we'll see. X, double green and a blue for a 0/0 legendary Fractal Wolf with trample. Primo or Primo enters with twice the X +1/+1 counters on it. Oh boy, you get something that then doubles that as well and you quadruple it. Yikes. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control with base power 0 deal combat damage to a player, you create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on equal to the damage dealt. Oh, okay. Yeah, you get a lot of those out there. Yeah, that can be a little bit scary. Especially if they've got flying and whatnot there. I mean, it's funny. It's like, yes, the power 0 tribal deck. Oh, that's funny. yeah, that'll be an interesting one to use. We're also going to get practiced offense, or practiced offense. Okay, not offense, offense. 2 and a white sorcery, put a +1/+1 in each creature target player controls. Target creature gains your choice of double strike or lifelink until end of turn. So one of them is essentially the star of the show, and then it's got a flashback cost of 1 and a white. Not too shabby there. +1/+1s on a go wide board is really nice. And then one of them gets double strike or lifelink. Sure, yeah, we'll take it. Our Mythical Archive card, Veil of Summer. Okay, that's a decent one. I think that had gotten potentially banned in one of the formats, I think. 1 green instant, draw a card. If an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn, spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black until end of turn. So really big blue-black hate on that one. Germination Practicum there. Looks like an alternate art version of that. Okay. So our final one is then going to be Pox Plague. Oh my goodness. 5 black mana. That's intense in the amount of black there. Sorcery. Each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half of the permanents they control of their choice round town each time. Okay, so it's a bigger version of Pox. I believe Pox was 2 black, and it was, same thing, like deal a little bit of damage. Like, it might have been like deal 2 damage or something, discard a card, sack a permanent, something like this, but this rounds all of that there. And the scary thing is, half of their permanents includes their lands, so, I'm just thinking, that's so terrible, because this in a Turgid deck is going to make you, like, the arch enemy. Because they sack and discard so many cards there, and you just get them. Oh my god, that's horrific. Yeah, yikes on that one. Okay. One more pack here. What have we got? We've rubbed it a little bit for luck. Can we get another Mythic? Can we get another Emeritus? Wild Hypothesis. X and green. Sorcery. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it. Surveil 2. Well, we've got a lot of, X spell costs, synergy. Expressive Fire Dancer. 1 and a red. 2/2. Human Sorcerer with Opus. Okay. Maybe these other ones were in it. I don't know. Opus I remember being, I believe, in the last one. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, this spell gets +1/+1 until end of turn. If 5 or more mana was also spent to cast that spell, this creature also gains double strike until end of turn. A little bit of extra on it. Last Gasp. 1 and a black instant. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. I believe Dismember, older one there. This is just power corrupted out because Dismember was -2/-2. This is -3/-3. Get a little bit of extra. Ascendant Dust Speaker. 4 and a white for a 3/4 Orc Cleric flying. When this ETPs, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control at the beginning of combat on your turn. Exile up to one target card from a graveyard. Okay, a little bit of graveyard hate there. +1/+1 on another creature, make another thing bigger. It's got flying. Okay, yeah. Another Pigment Wrangler. This is the one with that striking palette that I liked, that could use the copies there. We'll take more of that. Another Thornfist Striker. So fortunately, it looks like we are duplicating up on some of these there already. Sky Coach Waypoint. Again, if we got more prepared cards, getting another one of those is good. Disdainful Stroke. Okay. 1 and a blue for an instant, counter target spell with mana value 4 or greater. Again, depending on the format that you do, can determine whether or not that this is going to be playable or not. And we're getting a Stargaze. So another version of this. I think that the last one that we got was also foil like this. So you know, another version of that. And another island. I like me some Prismari, is it? So we'll certainly take that. First rare is going to be Stirring Hope Singer. 2 and a white for a 1/3 bird bard with flying and lifelink. And Repartee. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets a creature, put a +1/+1 on each creature you control. Ooh. On a go wide board, just casting an instant or sorcery that targets one thing and you get that such a big boost on it. Yeah, this could be a big one there. I'm not going to lie, that could be a big one. And our commander card is going to be a Ganjo Dinosaurian. 2 and a white, 2/3, Fox Advisor with Vigilance. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, this creature becomes prepared. It's got Replenished, 3 and a white, sorcery. Return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, so really, really good one for like an Enchantress deck or one that has a lot of enchantments in it. This looks like it's potentially like a lore hold card, maybe. Yeah, I dig it. I will certainly play that one. I can use some extra copies of it. We're also going to get an alternate art version of Black Loafing Pest. Now, I know that we had blacks previously, but this is different. 1, a black and a green for a 3/4 legendary pest. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each pest, bat, insect, snake, and spider you control. Okay. Gain a lot of life, you know, spread it around to a lot of your extra guys there, you know, a little bit of synergy with a lot of the creatures that were in Bloomburrow. And I believe that this is going to be our Mythical Archive card. It is. And I don't exactly know what it is. It's a modal card where you choose one of 2 actions. So you'll see what it is here, but it is going to be 1 and double red. So hopefully it's a cool card there. We'll be able to see what it is. And we've got a Saproling, a nice little Saproling, and a cute little pest there. Put those away, and we'll be able to see what our final card of the pack is going to be. It will be, okay, an improvisation capstone. Alternate art, another mythic for us. Hey, we'll take more of those. 5 and double red for a sorcery lesson. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile cards with total mana 4 or greater. You may cast any number of spells from among them without paying their mana costs. Okay, so if you are somehow able to cast, like, if a few come up and it's only like 3, and then you get another one of them that is super expensive there, you can do it. I don't exactly know what Paradigm is. Give me one moment. I just want to check out what it means. Okay, so I took a peek at what Paradigm is, and this card, I'm not going to lie, seems kind of busted. I don't think that it's going to see much in terms of being able to be used in standard or maybe 60 card formats, but in a commander sense, Paradigm is crazy good. Looking it up, Paradigm says, after you resolve the spell, you exile it. Then, after its first resolution, which is casting it the first time, while it's in exile, you may then cast a copy of this during your first main phase each turn without paying its mana cost. So you pay its mana cost one time, you get your free spells, and then you can do it next turn, the turn after that, the turn after that. It seems so busted of just getting so many free things. Oh my goodness, it just seems so good. I mean, if you're able to resolve it and then you're able to be able to then use it so many turns afterwards. Oh, this seems so good. It seems so good. That's another big hit for us, I think. Absolutely, we'll take that. Oh my goodness, there. Thank you very much. I will take that. Okay, Rubbin for Luck definitely gave us some help on that one. You know, 4 more packs here. You know, hopefully rubbing for luck is going to give us a little bit of a boost here. Goblin Glasswright, 1 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Sorcerer. Enters prepared. Craft with Pride, 1 red sorcery, create a treasure token. So essentially just, you know, having an extra mana for later on. You know, you put 1 mana in, you get 1 out later on. It's decent. Elite Interceptor, 1 white for a 1/2 human wizard, enters prepared. Rejoinder, 1 and a white sorcery, can tap or untap target creature, draw a card. Okay, you know, it's fine. Barrage, 1 and a red instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. If you've cast another instant or sorcery this turn, then it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Again, we've seen some of this before. You know, it's a fight effect without the actual fight there. You know, I dig those type of removals on it. Expressive Fire Dancer, getting that one again with the Opus. Zimone's Experiment, 3 and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature and or lands from among them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Put all land cards revealed this way onto the battlefield tapped, and put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand. So potentially putting in a lot of extra lands or putting a lot of creatures in. It looks like she's doing a whole lot of stuff with the, oh, what are those called? The like little gates that they're using to have like actual people planeswalk between players. Omen Paths, that's what it is. This is green, so I could see this going into my Calamax deck and just getting a whole lot of lands out there and putting a whole lot of creatures into my hand. But, you know, it is cycling away some of the instants and sorceries that I want to copy, so that's the only unfortunate thing. Prismari Charm, okay, another one of our charms. Blue and a red, instant, choose 1, surveil 2, then draw a card. Not that bad, I'll certainly take that. Deals 1 damage to up 2 of each of 1 or 2 targets, so player or creatures or planeswalkers. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Recursion effect. Yeah, I like these a lot. I will take all of those ones there. Prismari, I mean, blue and red, my favorite color combination, and the charm is my favorite of the 3 that we've seen so far. Molten Note, X, red, and white. An X card on a non-Quandrix card. What are we doing here? Sorcery, Molten Note deals damage to target creature equal to the amount of mana spent to cast this spell. Untap all creatures you control. So deals damage to 1 to the amount of mana spent. So that's not X. It's always 2 plus X. And then you untap all of your creatures there. So, you know, pseudo-vigilance or whatnot there. So you could just use red and white, deal 2 damage, and tap all of your stuff after you've tacked in, and that's perfectly fine. And flashback cost 6 red and white. You know, you're dealing the 8 damage, untapping all of your stuff there. You know, it's fine. And we're getting a red here, which has a lot of text, and it looks like we've got a monk here doing some sort of savage attack on us. Again, actual card in English is going to be here. Hopefully it's going to be a good one. And another black card here as well. Again, I won't be able to read it, so the actual card is going to be right here. Again, hopefully it's a really cool card. Got another mountain. So I believe since this is going to be our 9th one here, I think we've opened up like 2 of each except for the swamp. Interesting. First rare is going to be Splatter Technique, a little bit of whale paint. 1 double blue, double red for a sorcery. Choose 1, draw 4 cards, or it deals 4 damage to each creature and planeswalker. So a little bit of a mass removal, but also just drawing 4 cards is pretty good for 5. You know, wouldn't say no to that. Not the best one there, but we'll certainly take it. From our commander deck, we've got Rib Truss Roaster. You know, they're cooking up a bunch of these pests. 4 and a green for a 3/3 Troll Druid with Devour 1, which is you can sacrifice any number of creatures, and based off of the number that you do, you put 1 +1/+1 counter on this for each one that you do. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on this creature. they have, when this token dies, you gain 1 life. So you make this really, really big. You have a lot of tokens on it there, and you can do that. Or, you know, if you've just got a deck that naturally puts a whole lot of +1/+1 counters on it, then, you know, you don't need to sacrifice any of your stuff, and you're already getting all of the pests there. Okay, nice. Hardened Academic from our lore hold. Red and a white for a 2/1 bird cleric with flying and haste. Okay. You know, being able to get in early damage is going to be good for limiteds, potentially for standard. So what else do you got? Discard a card. It gains lifelink until end of turn. Okay. Decent. Lifelink isn't the most impactful thing, but it keeps you from dying. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Okay, so if you've got some like flashback cards, or if you've got some recursion, make them things bigger with this. Okay. It's decent. I could see it being decent. Mythical Archive card. Crop rotation. Hey, I will certainly take crop rotations. Please, please, please. I will do that. We're going to get... we'll do that afterwards. But crop rotation, 1 green, and for an instant has an additional cost to cast a spell, sack a land, search a library for a land. Doesn't have to be a basic land. It says any land, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle. Very, very good there, you know, being able to do that. You know, sacrifice a land that's not quite as good, doesn't provide a whole lot of effect, or, you know, you've got a deck that does a lot of recursion for lands. You know, you can get that out, get some non-basic lands, or, you know, with a deck, my Calamax deck that copies a whole lot of stuff, you know, you copy this 5 times, it's an additional cost to cast the spell. So you sack the land, but then you get 5 copies of this. So you sack 1 land and then you're up 4 lands. So pretty darn good. So I will absolutely take an additional crop rotation. And our final rare is going to be, we got so it's going to be a rare, but it's going to be one of our textured foils from the Mythical Archive here. Again, unfortunately, I don't exactly know which one this is. I see red 1/1 goblin creature token. Looks like probably create 2. Oh, I don't know what this card is, but surprisingly, I can actually read this one. It's put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens out on the battlefield, and it has Storm on it. So I don't exactly know what that one is called, Empty the Warrens or whatever it is, but that's what it does. So, I mean, if I got it right, you know, and the card right here says exactly that, I'm giving myself a A+ for effort there. And, you know, getting a textured foil on one of those is pretty nice there. We'll absolutely take that. Good for rubbing for luck there. Hopefully, you know, keep on rubbing for luck and we keep on getting some good cards. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Let us get some more cool ones here. Starting off with an Imperious Ink Mage, 1 a white and a black, 3/3 Orc Warlock, Vigilance, ETBs, Surveil 2, you know, looking a little bit there. Elemental Mascot, I like the bird, so, and it's also in Prismari, so might be one of my favorite cards from the set here. 1 a blue and a red, 1/4 Elemental Bird with Flying and Vigilance. Opus, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, this gets +1/+0. 5 or more mana was spent to cast that spell. Exile top card of the library. You may play that spell until the end of your next turn. So you impulse draw. 5 or more mana was spent to cast it. Okay, yeah, I'm digging this one here. I will absolutely take that. Procrastinate, kind of me sometimes. X and blue, sorcery, tap target creature, put twice X stun counters on it. Okay, in an X deck that goes hard, it's just like, yeah, you know, your creature's never untapping here. Oh, that's so funny. I dig it. Owlin Historian, 2 and a white, 2/3 bird cleric with flying. When this ETBs, you surveil one. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it looks like maybe Silverquill has a lot, or not Silverquill, Lorehold. It's probably a Lorehold card. Lorehold might have a lot of these ones here where they're actually removing cards from the graveyard, which is actually interesting because it was what Sultai was the one in Dragonstorm that dealt a lot with things coming out from your graveyard. So it's funny that Sultai, which are all of the colors that Lorehold is not. So it's just like, oh, you know, those 3, but then also these 2, like you've got a whole lot of ones that deal with it. That's funny. Group Project, 1 and a white, sorcery, create a 2/2 red and white spirit creature token, and flashback, tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Now, because of how group projects usually go, where, you know, one person does an immense amount of work and then like another person barely does anything and just gets the credit for it, I find it just absolutely hilarious that it's like, oh yes, you know, here you like it should be something like one of your opponents also gets like something as well. I think that would be more flavorful. Environmental scientist, 1 and a green, 2/2 human druid. ETBs, you may search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Okay, I mean, that's not too bad there. I mean, you get the creature basically putting like a... I can't remember if Rampant Growth... I think Rampant Growth just puts it into your hand and not onto the battlefield, right? I might put it on the battlefield, but yeah, you know, just getting into your hand as well, you know, that's fine as well. I'd certainly take that. Gwandrik's Charm. Okay, so we've gotten 4 of the 5 charms. Green and a blue instant. Choose 1, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2, so a little bit of a mana leak effect there. Destroy target enchantment. Target creature has base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. Okay, so, you know, boosting something up. If you've got one of these like fractals that have a 0/0 and just +1/+1s on it, and then you make it a 5/5 and swing it in, you potentially are like gaining up 5 power and toughness for 2 mana. That can do a lot. Deduce. 1 and a blue, instant, draw a card, and then investigate. Create a clue. Okay, yeah. You've got the little snake coming around there. And this is just foil. It's not one of our textured foils. Requisition Raid. 1 white for a sorcery. Oh, that's what this is. It's a Requisition Raid. Ah, so I might not have actually put what this is there because we do end up getting it. So Requisition Raid is a sorcery with Spree. New one here. So it's 1 white, and then for an additional 1, you can destroy target artifact. For an additional 1, you can destroy target enchantment. And for an additional 1, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. Okay, so for 2 mana, you can put 2 +1/+1 on each creature you control. And then, you know, again, an additional 1, destroy artifact, additional 1, destroying an enchantment. Yeah, pretty darn good. I definitely like that, and being able to use it, have multiple copies of it, that's nice. Another plains here, so we're still missing our double up on swamps, but first rare is going to be Restoration Seminar. Okay, so more rares, not more rares, more mythics. I'll absolutely take that. 5 and double white for a sorcery lesson. Return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. End Paradigm. So every turn you get to return any non-land permanent. So most of the time it's going to be creature, but you can do that with artifact, enchantment, planeswalker, battle. Again, these Paradigm cards, they're expensive, but then you get to use them like over and over again during each of your turns. That's kind of nice. I really like them, especially if you can somehow cheat them out. You know, that would be super cool. So what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mythics here. 2 more mythics in our magical archive for 9, and 1 from the commander decks for 10. And this is the 10th pack, so we're like on track here. Keep on going. Like some of the ones that we've had, we've barely gotten any mythics in it, and this one we're getting so many. I'm so happy with that. And we're also going to get Defacing Duelist for our Silver Quill deck, with a little bit of a corgi head that I thought was a cat for a moment. White and a black for a 2/2 dog warlock with Death Touch. Ooh, Death Touch doggy. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, this becomes prepared. Nice. Vandal's Edit. 1, a white and a black for an instant. Draw 2 cards. Each player loses 2 life. So it's doing that whole Phyrexian Arena effect that we were talking about, except it's not just you that's taking the damage. Everyone is taking damage for you drawing cards. That's kind of nice. I like that. I really, really like that. Opponent draws 2 cards and you're like, no. I'm drawing 2 cards as well. And you take some damage as well. Yeah, I like that. That's a nice one. Traumatic Critique. I guess Prismari is not happy with whatever it is you've done. And Prismari's got a little bit of glasses. Now I've got glasses. I mean, you can't see, but I do have glasses on. X, a blue and a red for an instant. Traumatic Critique deals X damage to any target. Then you draw 2 cards and then discard a card. Okay. Yeah. So dealing some damage, getting something out there, and then you draw 2, you discard 1, so you essentially make this even for things out. Yeah, I dig it there. Our Mythical Archive card is going to be a foil Crop Rotation. Okay, I'll certainly take that. Crop Rotation is good. I will always take more of those. Thank you very much. Put those in. We're going to get Feed the Swarm signed for Mythical Archive. I do like me some Feed the Swarms, and the very, very creepy artwork on it. I would love to be able to get that card, that version of it in here. Maybe we'll get it at some point. Final rare is going to be a Choreographed Sparks. So it looks like this has maybe something to do with our band that we had before. 2 red for an instant. This spell can't be copied. That's too bad. Choose one or both. Copy target instant or sorcery you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So we've seen that with Reverberate. And copy target creature spell you control. The copy gains haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice this token. So what you want to do is, while you have a creature out on the field, you cast out a spell. You use this to copy that spell, and then you also get to copy your creature as well. This is a very, very good card. I very, very much enjoy this, and I know that I can use this in lots of places. Again, in my copy deck, like, pretty easy to do that there, and then you copy something that's going to be a big benefit for you as well. That's one of the creatures. Yeah, I will absolutely take that. Might not be the most impactful, might not be the most expensive, but I can definitely use that one. All right, penultimate pack, Rub for Luck. Hopefully we can get another cool card in here. We've gotten 2 textured foil in our Mythical Archive so far. We've gotten 10 Mythics. If we can get 2 more Mythics, that'd be great. Dig Site Inventory, 1 white for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains Vigilance until end turn, and flashback of just 1. So again, the Lore Hold, having some flashbacks, getting some benefits for things leaving your graveyard like this, it's okay. Send in the Pest. I thought it said Send in the Past. Send in the Pest. 1 and a black sorcery. Each opponent discards a card. You create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with whenever this creature attacks, you gain 1 life. Okay, gonna go into my Angie deck that makes a lot of my opponents discard cards as well. Keep their card count low. Definitely will take this. Textbook Tabulator, 2 and a blue for a 0/3 Frog Wizard with Increment, and when this ETBs, you surveil 2. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Spectacle Summit. This is going to be our blue-red Surveil land. Certainly we'll take it. Definitely looks like a creature there. Vibrant Outburst, again, removal and tapping the creature. Tester of the Tangential, this one had it again. Being able to move your +1/+1 counters off of it. Group Project had this one again as well, creating the token. Sleight of Hand, 1 blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 into your hand, the other on the bottom of your library. Sure, we'll take that there. It's blue, replaces itself. And a Braid, Very, very beautiful abrade. Reminds me a little bit of Mel from Arcane. Just kind of that red and gold, or black, red and black and gold effect that she has. I really, really like my braids, so getting another good copy of those is nice. One in a red, instant, choose one, deal 3 to target creature, destroy target artifact. You get your choices, modal effects. Another forest here. First rare is going to be a Moseo Veins New Dean. Okay. Maybe this is looking like some sort of Bloomborough, like undead bird that is a Dean, maybe? I don't exactly know what Veins New Dean is. I would assume it's some character. 2 and a black, 2/1, legendary bird, skeleton warlock with flying. When Moseo enters, you create a 1/1 black and green pest with whenever this token attacks. Oh, so whenever it attacks, not when it dies. Whenever it attacks, you gain a life. Okay. It's not going to be around for very long. Infusion, at the beginning of your end step. If you gain life this turn, return up to 1 target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Okay. Gain a whole lot of life, potentially just bring back a big creature there. Yeah, I certainly dig that. From our commander decks, we've got Leitmotif Composer, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human bard. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana 5 or greater, you create a token that's a copy of this creature. And 2 and a blue, creatures named Leitmotif Composer can't be blocked this turn. Okay. You make it unblockable, send it in, draw a card, cast big spell to make more copies of this, to then, have a bunch of them swing in, for the cheap cost of 3 to deal a whole lot of unblockable damage. That's nice, yeah. And we're going to get a Deathcap Glade. Okay, so looks like there were some lands in here that we didn't really get. I believe that these are copies of the ones that were in the original Strixhaven block. So alternate arts of those, certainly will take them. It's a land, enters tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands. So, the slow lands, tap for black and green, certainly will take that. And, another version of this one here that we had before, just in our non-textured foil version. So, again, hoping that this is a good one here. Again, it's there. Oh, yeah, we talked about it. It's a storm card. Yeah, we'll definitely take more storm cards there. Food and elemental. And our final card of the pack is going to be a Comforting Counsel. Looks like some sort of hag there. 1 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you put a growth counter on this, and as long as there are 5 or more growth counters on this enchantment, creatures you control get +3/+3. Okay. Whenever you gain life. So potentially in a single turn, you could get the 5 growth counters that you need to get all of your creatures +3/+3. Okay. Very simple card, but with a lot of good life gain in it, you could make it pump up really quickly. All right. Final pack here. Come on, let's get something really, really cool. Definitely the first half was a lot more explosive than this one here, but we can do it. We can get at least one more cool card. We haven't gotten another mythic, so we still are trying to get 2, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yep, if we can get 2 more mythics, that'd be really, really cool. Starting off with Mindful Biomancer, 1 and a green, 2/2, Dryad Druid, ETBs, gain a life, 2 and a green. This creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, activate only once each turn. Okay, pretty basic. Ulna Alley Shopkeep, 2 and a black, 2/3, Goblin Warlock with Menace, Infusion, gets +2/+0 as long as you've gained life this turn. All right, again, pretty simple. Spirit Mascot, red and white, 2/2, Spirit Ox. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you put a +1/+1 on this creature. So again, do a lot of flashback, makes this one bigger, bigger, bigger. Fractal Mascot, I thought we had gotten this one, no. 4, a green and a blue 6/6 fractal elk trample. When this ETPs, tap target creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. A little bit too expensive for that cost. Garrison excavator, 3 and a red 3/4 orc sorcerer with menace. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you create a 2/2 red and white spirit creature token. So again, flashback stuff, and you get some tokens out there. Okay. Foolish Fate, someone's getting eaten by Croc. 2 and a black. Destroy target creature. Okay. Infusion, if you gain life this turn, that creature's controller also loses 3 life. Okay. Pretty simple card there. You know, you want to have gained some life so that they can take some damage. Stirring Honormancer. 2, a white, a hybrid white-black, and a black for a 4/5 Rhino Bard. When this ETBs, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control. Put 1 into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. So a lot of self-mill there, potentially, if that's what you want to do. This looks like Shared Roots. I mean, it's very similar to the one that we had before with it. So I'm imagining that that's what this one is, you know, because it's also a lesson. You know, we saw it before. So, you know, getting alternate versions, absolutely will take that. And Burst Lightning, 1 red for an instant. Kicker 4. Deals 2 damage to any target. If it was kicked, deals 4 damage instead. Again, spending 5 mana to deal 4 damage is not necessarily what I want to do unless you don't have anything else to do with it. So most of the time it's going to be a shock to me. And another island. So still keeping on 1 swamp there. First rare of the final pack. Magma Blood Archaic. Okay, so we're finally getting another Archaic here. Triple 2 red hybrid for a 2/2 avatar with trample and reach. This creature converge ETBs with a +1/+1 on it for each color of mana if you spent to cast it. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn for each color of mana spent to cast that spell. So again, this one here is, they're pretty similar. This one's just putting +1/+1 counters on them, on a creature based off of the things that you've put on it. Anytime that you cast an instant or sorcery, all of your stuff get a +1/+0 bonus for the number of mana, not the number of mana, the number of colors spent to cast it there. So you could swing in pretty hard with it. Sure, yeah, I'll certainly take that. From the Commander decks, Defiling Demagoth, 3 and double black for a 5/4 demon menace. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you gain a life. The beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Okay, so it's one of those Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood effects. Again, I don't know which one is which off the top of my head, but it has that there, which is really, really nice. You know, just on a creature. We'll certainly take that. Grave Researcher. So it looks like we're almost to the end and, you know, still no mythics. 2 and a black, 3/3 Troll Warlock. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Then if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, this creature becomes prepared. And as Reanimate, 1 black, sorcery, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to the card's mana value. Honestly, I think this is a pretty darn good one in, you know, Commander games there. You know, 3 mana to put it out. Each upkeep, you surveil 1. And you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna have a deck that puts a lot of creature cards in your graveyard, and you just reanimate everything. Yeah, that's pretty darn good. Well, about those mythics there, it looks like we are getting a pretty darn good one in Triumph of the Hordes. Okay, bringing back our Infect, bringing back the Phyrexians. Oh yeah, I love me some Phyrexians. 2 double green for sorcery until end of turn. Creatures you control get +1/+1, trample, and infect. Big yikes. Some deaths you can evade, others are inevitable. Yeah, you don't want to be getting hit with this Triumph of the Hordes there. Jessica's Will and Triumph of the Hordes, man, we got some good ones there. Like, not gonna lie, I dig them there. And we're getting a little treasure elemental token there. An elemental bird. Birdie, birdie, bird. Okay, we have a chance. We have 11 mythics. This is the 12th pack. If we can get one more mythic, we have an average of 1 mythic per pack. I don't know why this feels a little bit heavy to me. It'd be great if that means like it's one of these textured cards here, or just like something really, really cool. I'm hoping. Drum roll for the final card. Okay, just one of the lands there, just a foil alternate art land, which we'll certainly take. You know, we'll take lands. They're always going to be good. I was just hoping that it was going to be something a little bit better than a land, so we are going to finish off with 11 mythics. Very, very good. Included among them, Sylvan Library Special Guest, 3 of the Emerituses, some really, really cool and good Paradigm cards, and one of the Elder Dragons that we'll use. One of the commanders from the decks, and we're getting a few of our mythics from the Mythical Archive. Again, not too certain what this is, but you will have seen it. A Jessica's Will, which is really nice, and a Triumph of the Horde, also nice. Got some cool rares that we're going to go through, some of the commander cards that can do it, and it looks like we ended up getting 2 textured foils for our Mythical Archive. Here we saw this one here, it was like Shattering Spree or something like that, and this one here, which is like Empty the Warrens or something like that. Foil Crop Rotation, Fracture, Deflecting Palm there, another Empty the Warrens, Veil of Summer, some of these other ones here. All in all, the first half was definitely pretty heavy in the mythics that we ended up getting. Sylvan Library, the 3 Emerituses, and the Dragon, and the Jessica's Will, as well as this other one here. Triumph of the Horde later on in this final pack here. Also another great card to kind of finish off everything by, but, you know, starting off so strong and finishing off with a good card as well. I dig it. Strixhaven brings a lot of cool stuff in, and I'm looking forward to opening up some more, both another collector box as well as when I can start getting my hands on some of the play boosters. So thanks for joining me on this one on our trip back to school. Hopefully you'll be ready for second period when that comes around, or second semester, whatever you want to call it there. But until then, please take care of yourself. Have a good afternoon, evening, or night. And until you do come back, I'll see you later. Take care.